everyone, and welcome to our fire signs chat today. We're going to be talking about Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and I'm joined by my astrology expert friend, Kimberly. Kimberly, how are you doing?
Fabulous. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's summer weather, excellent for the atmosphere of fire signs.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hot, spicy.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
atmosphere is perfect for this chat.
Hot and
Yeah,
spicy.
yeah.
Yes.
I would love for you to share just a bit about what got you interested in astrology in the first place? Diving into it.
Well,
You look like you're malfunctioning.
I know.
Yeah.
Taking it back. I'm time traveling back. Um, well, I was trying to zero in of like when I my first like cognizant memory of astrology. My mom had this funny book in her like nightstand, and it was like sketch drawings of maybe each sign and like almost like doodles. And I there were maybe six or eight personality traits of each sign. And I'll never forget the two for Aquarius and I used to look at this all the time, and it would make me laugh, is one showed an Aquarian attaching a hammock to a tree and then turning around and realizing that there's not another tree on the other side. So
Okay.
like they had this great idea and like let's put this right here, but they forgot to like notice that like the second half wasn't there.
Hmm.
And then the the other doodle was they're in a room and they're painting, and they paint the whole floor and they literally paint themselves into a corner with no way out. And like it was a great idea and they accomplished 90% of it, but now they have this space that they have to finish, and then they either stand there while the paint dries or or walk through what they just did to get out. And I just thought that was basically it was denoting our absent-mindedness. Great ideas.
That's
And
really
we
funny because you're really good at bringing like ideas and like tangibly executing on them. So I wonder if seeing those doodles when you were younger like shifted the way that you were interacting with reality of like, oh, you know what? I need to not paint myself in a corner and make sure the
Yeah,
other half is here.
maybe. Yeah, yes. So then, and I was young. I was probably in like elementary school when I found that book. So I had an awareness of astrology. And I was thinking about this the other day. I did not grow up in a household with a chosen religion. My mom had gone to Episcopal, she was Episcopalian when she was young, and I'm sure it was just because like for like what the neighbors would think if they didn't go to something, because I don't think any of them were really religious. And then my dad grew up Jewish, and when I was little, religion and an astrology, I don't think have anything to do with each other, but people tend to put them together, so that's why I'm bringing it up. But my dad did something really cool. He was a teacher, but they were both teachers, but he took me to everything when I was young. So if there was a Greek festival, he would take me there, and we wouldn't just partake, he would actually teach me what he could about like what was happening. We would go to Jewish festivals, we would go to um different things. So I actually remember this was the thought I had the other day, and I swear I'm bringing it back. I had this thought. I remember standing in my first best friend's room, and we moved away when I was 6. So I would have been between 3 and 6. And I remember standing in the bedroom and telling her mom, talking to her about reincarnation. And she was getting really irritated and did not want to have the conversation.
Uh-huh.
And I actually grasped it. Like that's pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
I've always had an open mind. My dad told me that like you can come back as a butterfly. That was how, and so I was thinking like, why would I have had that conversation with my dad? So I might have asked him like, who is God, or what happens after you die, something
Hmm.
like that. So because I was gifted a very open-minded, and you're welcome to learn about if you have interest in something, we're going to expand on it.
Hmm.
When things would filter in that like maybe other families would not allow, like astrology or reincarnation, I was very allowed and encouraged to use my mind to delve in. So being an Aquarius, I just did that independently. Being an Aquarius with 5 planets in Sagittarius, with a philosophic mind, I totally dove into anything that wasn't the norm.
Hmm.
And I moved out really young, and I would go to the library. Um, like I even moved downtown when I was like 18, and I went to our huge library, and I would just clear every spiritual section in every library I walked into. I would read every book I could find on out of body experiences, astral projection, every astrology book. And then when I really when I realized I got into astrology and I started to just find out what everyone's sign was around me, I would either guess it or ask. And then I put it into the filing system. So every time I learned someone's sign, which I would always find out, they became part of this filing,
Like a
page folder.
characterization
Yeah,
of this is what this means.
they went into the folder,
Yes.
and so then whenever I would observe them in conversation or hanging out or whatever, friendship, going out, I would make comparisons of like, oh, that's interesting. They're an Aries and they do act like so and so and so and so and so and so. Oh, that's interesting. I never read that Aries trait, but I notice it in every Aries that I meet, and so I was so interested in it. That filing system was always in the front of my brain and always active. And then I worked on a boat that went down to Mexico, that went down to Ensenada. And on my 1 hour lunch break, I would run or like power walk a few minutes down to this it was called Seaport Village. It's whatever, it doesn't, a mall, a seaside mall. And they had this really, really good bookstore. And I would spend $1 to get iced coffee. And I literally read 100 books on astrology in their bookstore. Thank you, Upstart Crow. They're not here anymore. Um, so then I really learned because I only bought a few books. Like I had to find a book that was like amazing to buy it because I'd read so many, like certain ones stood out. But yeah, then I got really good at it because we didn't have the internet.
Mm.
I'm aging myself right now. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have,
Yeah,
so
you had the Ethernet up here.
yeah, I had to do my own
Yeah.
charts. I had to do my own
Yeah.
charts. Uh I had a journal that charted the planets daily. And I got into this like mode where every day I worked at a hotel and it would after like the first hour it was really quiet. So I'd sit down with my journal and I would look at all the conjunctions and I would go to the back and read what each conjunction meant, like the description. And then I would write it so tiny, so tiny. It was like for a mouse, I don't know.
Okay.
And but I wrote it every day. And because I did that over and over, I actually learned what a square meant and a trine and a sextile and conjunction. I learned what all that meant. So there was a time when I was really good about the different conjunctions in the sky, which are from the constellations, and like what it means. Now we pretty much talk about the moon, the new moon, or well, we always everybody loves to talk about Mercury retrograde, but I was learning that for every planet, and what happens when it was squaring angrily with another sign or in conjunction positively with another sign, and so I learned. So yeah, it was a series of a lot of writing, a lot of observation. It's just fun. And
Hmm.
then when I was a waitress and a bartender, every time somebody orders a drink, you have to look at their ID. I always knew I was dealing with. I was such a good server because I knew if you needed my attention more, if you needed me to compliment you, if you needed me to joke around, if you needed nothing, if you wanted to be left alone, if you needed the table to be extremely clean, which I mean that's always the goal. But I that really helped me, and so I learned a lot about personality traits just by observing strangers because I had this insight to remember their sign for the hour that they were in my section, you know?
That's so interesting because, as a rainbow sheep, how we're very different than other persons, especially, being Aquarians. I feel like an
Mhm.
alien that landed here and I'm like observing humans, right? So I went the psychology route
Mhm.
of like, this is how it's going to help me learn what they got going on. Okay, so I wonder if you did that with
Mhm.
astrology as well as like your human profiling.
For real.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yes, because it again, we're not emotionless, but we don't get emotionally swayed,
Aquarius.
yeah, Aquarians as easily as others, and we do have a very detached nature, and so because of that, it does put us almost into like a scientific mind or like a
Hmm.
left brain. Is that right? Yeah, where male brain, where you pull back and you just observe the situation and you have no emotional interest or triggers or anything because you're literally studying something to learn from it and observe it. And yeah, I really did that with astrology, and I could, yeah, psychology, that makes perfect sense. But that also obviously has led to you being such a profound healer and helping people hack through their life because you can it's interesting like when you and I both do sessions and we have somebody bring something up with a to us that they're going through in their life. We really do have the answers, not because we know everything, but because it never changes. It doesn't change. Like your scenario.
It's very formulaic. It's different
Yeah.
circumstances or experiences, but it's like this problem,
Yeah.
you need to do this. This is what
Yeah.
you get out of
Now, your life and the people in it are yours. That is
it.
your complete, private, only happening to you, will never happen to another person because it's your journey. But the reasons it's happening and the reasons you're responding the way you like that never changes. Anger always masks fear. That never changes. So if you can remember that, you can cut through, so much so quickly. And so going back to astrology, we we have free will. We have, discernment. We don't have to be our sign, but we're always our sign. We're influenced by other things, by our rising, where the sun is on the horizon when you're born, by your Venus and your Mars placements, how you love, how you fight, um, by your moon, emotionally, like what you do for comfort. We are influenced by those things, but I have never, ever met someone who isn't 75% down the list of their sign, whether they can see it or not.
Also funny, I was having a conversation with my son, and he is a Scorpio, and then we were having a conversation about astrology, and he doesn't believe in. He's like, "Oh, well, if you thought I was a Libra, then you would just, assume those are Libra traits." I was like, "You are the most Scorpio I've ever met. Anybody could clock you as one, even people that don't know about astrology."
Okay. Great man of mystery. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Does he have a intense penetrating eyes?
Everything about a Scorpio, he has it. Like he's
Yeah.
like the most spot on Scorpio that has ever existed. So I'm like,
Scorpios are good to
people,
keep around.
yeah,
They're very protective. They're yeah.
what?
You haven't seen half of what he's going to be, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
So,
He's a very dynamic person.
yeah. Well, okay, so speaking of suns, mine is on the autism spectrum. 100% is Sagittarius. So it doesn't even
Mhm.
matter if you're from a different, completely, if you are not like everyone else,
You have different brain chemistry.
he's so much his sign. Yeah. So
Yeah.
is my partner. I feel like my son and my partner are kind of the same person sometimes. They're very funny. They're very funny. But anyway, okay, so did that 20 minutes answer your question?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was curious. I'm sure other people are.
Okay. Anyone in the back? The Care Bear, did that
Oh
answer
yeah,
your
like you
question?
got questions stuck here. No, we can go on and start
Okay. Do you have
dissecting,
do you
dissecting
have
our data collection on our fire signs here.
yeah, do you have any questions, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Luna has decided to um I have a dove situation going on at my house. They're all taking turns sitting on a little I have a 333 LED candles in a row and they keep knocking one over and sitting on it like an egg. So um we're sharing the space today.
Yeah.
Okay. So Aries. Uh, what's the one I did the disclaimer on the last
Oh,
water
we did that
sign
on the water
Cancer?
sign. We did
Okay, yeah.
disclaimers on the water
Yeah. Okay,
signs.
I'm gonna put a disclaimer out.
Okay.
Aries, I freaking love you all, and I have so many of you in my life, but I'm gonna be honest. So don't start calling me and writing me and start trying to start arguments because that's your favorite thing to do. Um, Everything I say comes from love and really good critical observation. And I
Yeah,
know,
we're Aquarius and we dragged ourselves. So just so you
yes,
know.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And I know Aries probably, I probably know Aries better than almost all the other signs because I have so many in my life, especially women. Um, I don't know how. Okay, so if you're an Aries, an Aquarius does make an excellent friend. We are very, very compatible. We have a really good time together. A little more mischief, a little more excitement. You grab your Aquarius friend if you want to go out to a festival or some bars, or if you want to bring more fun and excitement and have somebody that's gonna go along with your changing your mind by the second. Aquarians are okay with that if it's in a fun setting. So Aries are so driven and so productive, and half the time you walk into any establishment, they're probably the boss. I mean, there's other signs that step into being the boss as well, but Aries are good at running things, and people naturally energetically are attracted to Aries. So, like my business partner, when she walks into we have a bakery. So when she walks into the room, everyone is just drawn to her, whether they have a question for her or they want to know how she's doing, and she doesn't come from ego. That's next. That's Leo. So she doesn't walk in like I'm here,
Hmm.
and then everybody no, she just walks into I've watched this for a very long time. Anywhere we go, everyone just turns towards her and gives her power. And luckily she's humble and she's kind and she's not power hungry and she's a good leader. So which is why we've won we've been on the Food Network and we've won every time. So they Aries played a win, and do not mistake that they are going to because they
Do not
they
underestimate them.
yeah, do not underestimate an Aries. They will show up with the receipts, with the quotes from 10 years ago, with like whatever it is, whatever it takes to win something. They walk into everything as if it is a challenge typically, which not everyone on the other side is prepared for. And so because of that, because they come in with such energy and power and decision making, most people just let them continue with it because they're good at it. And it's when the people don't want that a lot of arguments happen.
Hmm.
Aries will argue with a leaf blowing by. I mean, like, dude, and enjoy it. Aries love to argue. They love to bring up facts. They love to quote laws. They love to bring up some dumb shit you did 20 years ago and not give you the opportunity that you might have changed in the last 20 years. Um, they are they tend to be perfectionists, although it's interesting they don't typically live a perfectionist type lifestyle, but they will call you on not doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, or if you're not following the law, or if you're not living up to a certain standard. Like they really um now, all that being said, the reason they want you to do all that is because they want you to succeed. So they want you to follow the law so that you're safe. They,
Hmm.
the laws exist for safety. They want you to show up prepared because they want you to succeed in life. they want you to show up well dressed and clean because that makes a really good presentation. And they are concerned with a little more than they're in a group of signs that are more concerned with the perception of others. So they really want to seem like they've got it together. They understand the assignment. They know the rules. They're but they're also willing to work really hard to accomplish all that too. So they're not somebody, the fire signs burn out really easily. So they'll start all of this like, this is a brilliant idea, and like, let's get this, and here I'm going to create the staff, and I'm going to draw up the formula, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll be like, okay, go. I've picked the best players for this. And then they just take off, and you're like, what just happened to our leader? But they really did give you everything you needed. But because they burn out, all of a sudden they're just crickets, radio silence. And so
Hmm.
you're like, okay, well, I was listening to their every word up until this moment, but actually, if I look around, I do have everything I need to finish the assignment on my own. And so they're good at, because they have so many like yes signs around them at all times, like orbit them at all times. They do create a good team around them to finish if they dip, which they will burn out. Like Leo and Sag burn out quicker than Aries. Aries will literally burn themselves into the ground. Like their work ethic is amazing, but they will just take on too much and they won't stop, and they'll get into these cycles where they won't sleep or eat, or they'll drink too much caffeine, and they they lose their momentum because they physically can't keep up with their own demand. They're family oriented. My mother was not, but they're family oriented. And most Aries women I meet tend to have more than one child. And they're very often um, the kind of parenting where you always carry them
Hmm.
when you sleep with the baby sleeps with you. What's that term in
I can't think
psychology?
of the term,
Okay,
but you're like attached to, yeah.
attachment. Yeah, they're really good moms. They're so they're kind of like helicopter moms where they're like always up in their kids' business. Sometimes the kids need a little bit of a break. Um, if they aren't working too hard. Because it's rare that like they will make their children their full-time job, or they may have a full-time job, and you can't do two. And then, boundaries get loose in both places. But almost every Aries female friend that I have, and I have a lot of them, they almost all of them have two or three kids. And I've been noticing that over the years. I always thought that was interesting because not every sign does that. Um, but yeah, they're very interactive parents, but they also um it depends on your chart, and it depends on if you have a bunch of things in your chart that can help you relax and allow others to grow on their own. Like I have a very close friend who's an Aries who is so good at this, at allowing her children to just be themselves. But typically an Aries mom is the one that has you in ballet and fencing and horse riding, and like you're going to be president in one of these categories. And so and so
Or the
and
president.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so they'll push their kids to succeed, and then they get there's a lot of arguments because of that, but then they also get a feeling of of not being respected or being let down when someone else doesn't have the same goal for themselves as their Aries parent. Um, yeah, so I don't know. My mom was an Aries, my business partner is an Aries, my best friend was an Aries, my personal trainer was an Aries. Um, Everyone that has made a huge change or like impression and has really altered the course of my life or been part of that journey, they've all been Aries women, except for my personal trainer. Um, so I have seen all of this in person in at hand. Aries men are very playful and take a very all fire signs take a very long time to grow up. Aries and Sagittarius, especially Sagittarius takes the longest. Aries are really fun though. They're the Aries men are fun to go hang out with, and they're the adrenaline junkies and the ones that are kind of jumping all around. So you take them dancing, they're a great time. If you want to go for a hike, if you want to go do something like really physical, an Aries male is a good choice. They're pretty much always like, yeah, let's do it, let's go, you know. Um, they are Aries in general are super loyal. And if they're balanced, they're pretty accepting. They don't like things to change. They really don't like things to change. They would love that things just stay exactly the way that they have set them up to be because it's just much easier to manage. But when things do start to change, as long as it doesn't offend them too deeply or affect them too deeply, they're typically okay with it. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the me first sign. And even though it typically doesn't come from ego, they're very comfortable with it being me first. So like they're really comfortable with making decisions for the entire room, the entire group, because people tend to give their power over to them. So they're really comfortable with that. But they can get selfish. Get they can attack, and they don't all of them attack, man. And they're all the people, all the especially the women, all the women in my life that I've had these really long, very close relationships with are intelligent and kind and good and from the heart. But man, if you piss them off, they're going to look at you, and it's almost like a a list forms behind your head, and it just shows them everything. Okay, if I want to hurt them, this is the most hurtful thing I can say. This is the most mean thing I could do. This is the most horrible thing I could ever bring up from the past. They are so good at that. They can scrutinize somebody in a split second and pick out all of their insecurities and all of their um things that they're probably and then they pick them out and they like air them, and they can humiliate. I've seen Aries people humiliate other people where you're just like, okay, first of all, that just happened in 30 seconds. And second, that's a stranger, you know, and it's and the people crumble. Like I don't know. It's almost like they get super psychic on like what could be the worst thing I could absolutely say right now, and they zero right into that and say it. So I've done a lot of damage control because of Aries. A lot. But they're fun, warm, kind, good, excellent leaders. They're usually really good dressers. They're they're not like us Aquarians or Sagittarians where they or Pisces. They don't want a ton of attention for their looks. They're not asking for that. They tend to actually be a little more natural and neutral tones and things, and just kind of like really well put together. Um, but and they're materialistic, and they do wear items that show the logo, but it's not as much like a Leo is gonna show off. Like a Leo pulls up in that they'll rent like an amazing car, and they'll pull up hanging off the side of it with a gigantic Rolex and a big gold chain, or you know, or like expensive sunglasses, knowing that they're showing you an image. And Aries does it in a much more subtle way, but they do like to show what they've worked for.
Mm.
So they're going to buy an expensive purse. They're going to, they have a bar, and they don't like to go below that bar. 50% of it is for perception of others, but then 50% of it is because they worked really hard to get there.
Yeah, it's not attention. It's more
Yeah.
like this is proof of my like success and
Yeah.
achievements.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is with Aries, I need to link up with them during the zombie apocalypse. They would be the best partner for that.
They would scare them. They
But
would be like, "Oh, I see you, zombie." and they would just find the
They would like
thing that would
nitpick the zombies.
they would humiliate the zombie, and the zombie would be like, I wasn't prepared. Like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go back and work on my strategy a little bit harder, and then hold on. Yeah, they could, yeah. Aries are brave and courageous, and they will fight for other people's rights.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And a group leader
Yeah,
and competitive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they study, and they really do. They take rules and order and law, and they understand why it runs the system that we all live in well, and they follow it. Like, they'll buy property, they'll get a degree, they'll own their business, but it's because they understand that those things create safety and security, and they don't accept anything less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's less about a sense of justice and more about like, hey, these are the rules and the
Mhm.
parameters of how to be successful in life, and so that's why I'm doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And I follow the rules to a degree, so I want you to follow the rules if you're going to be in my, you know, area, life, I guess.
Mhm.
And when so that is it is interesting to me though that Aries and Aquarians get along so well, because we are such weirdos who never
Bad rule
follow the rules.
breakers and
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think we help Aries loosen up a little bit.
Mm.
I know we do. I know we do. And we also don't always care if someone else wants to run the show. Like, we'll do whatever we're gonna do anyway. And so, like, you can be over there like calling the shots, and for the most part, like, okay, I don't care. I don't care about a lot of that stuff, and so I'll just go along with it. But um there's a hard no with me with Aries when they get a little too bossy, because they're just like, and another thing, wait, where'd you go? Because Aquarians are like, okay, I'm out. Like,
I left 2 hours ago.
yeah, did they leave? Like, what,
Yeah.
what just happened? But they explode with, I've never seen anyone more angry than an Aries. They will explode, they will get over it, they can go back to functioning, but they never forget what pissed them off. And that is now on your
Your file.
tally. Yeah, oh,
Yeah. Your doc, your
yeah.
personal doc.
They put it in the file. First they made a copy, and then they put it in the file. Then they uploaded it to a computer somewhere too. So, like, they have multiple receipts of this unacceptable thing that you did. And not all of them, most of them. Most of them. My business partner is very forgiving, very good at going with the flow when it comes to, like, oh, okay, I didn't realize you're going to wear a completely silver astronaut suit, but okay. Like, I thought when I said, what would it be? I'm trying to think of like something funny that would happen with Aquarius, and like an Aries will plan a party, and then they'll say, like, you know, uh black tie and, fancy outfits or whatever. And then their Aquarian friend shows up and they're like, yeah, I guess I didn't specify that it couldn't be like a costume. And then they'll go back. So they can roll with the punches a bit. I like, growing up with an Aquarian best friend, she constantly would get me to go ask the person something, or go make something happen, or like she would send me out to do jobs. Like, she was running the whole show and knew that I was like really friendly and didn't have a problem like asking for things. And so she would like be like, go over there and ask so and so, and it took me a while to realize, like, am I a pawn? That's okay.
You're the chill filter.
Hmm. Well, it's like, well, Kimberly will do it, or whatever. But yeah, yeah. But they do work on their stuff. They're pretty self-aware, and understand that attacking isn't nice, and that they do it and they're working on it. Like, I've heard every single one except my mother would never admit to that. I was y'all, I was raised by the original Disney Ice Queen. Like all the Disney villains, just take that and put it into one person, and that was my mother, who was one of the most phenomenal artists I've ever like. She was so talented, super talented. But she was the head cheerleader in high school, even though she wasn't very friendly. She was the head cheerleader in high school. She was the valedictorian in her college. Like she graduated college early so that she could marry my father because there's rules, like they wanted to be together. They waited to consummate the marriage. I mean, I don't know why they told me this until they were married and then they had me. Um, so she was a high achiever her whole life, but then got to a point soon after, like I was born in Buffalo, New York, and then when I was 6, we moved to Florida. There were a lot of teaching jobs. My parents were teachers, but I also remember them saying constantly that they just wanted to get away from their family and like the rules of their family. Um, and then as soon as they were out of the eye of people holding certain expectations, they just started to act like children again and party and do all this other stuff that was, we always owned a house. They always had a job, but they were pretty pretty wild when I was growing up. And because I was so independent as an Aquarius, and they realized that I was able to take care of myself, I think that gave them a permission slip to be even more childlike. I don't know. So my mom did start drinking, and that was her way of getting out of holding herself accountable. Because when she was sober, everything had to be perfect. Like there were parts of the house I wasn't allowed to touch. Like we had the bathroom with the towels that were there for show because they looked nice, but we weren't allowed to touch them. Like that's an Aries brain. Like everything matches, everything in its place, picture perfect when you walk into the room. That's what they want. They want to show you that. They want to see that, and they want everyone to see them having that. And when they can't have that, or they can't achieve it, or they burn out, then they find other vices to allow them to escape. So most Aries either have indulged in drinking, drugs, or overeating, or some type of like complete opposite of their personality type behavior, like an overindulgence in something secretive that you wouldn't expect because they look so perfect on the outside. That could be said by tons of signs, but I've seen that
Yeah, of
a lot.
course, this is,
Yeah.
just generalizations of signs, not
Yeah.
everybody individually.
Leo tends to have that too. Okay, so do you have any other questions about Aries? Because I know I really did talk about that for a long time.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great friends, like friend for life. Funny. Um, really good people to go if you want to go dancing in Aries. If they like to dance, they're a good person to go dancing with because they have the stamina. They have the stamina, and they're typically popular. Like that shouldn't be important, but they typically are like part of the popular crowd, or people just naturally kind of like give them that. So if you want to be cool, you can hang out with an Aries.
Hang out with an Aries
Yeah. Okay.
or
So,
survive the apocalypse.
or survive the apocalypse. Yes,
Yes.
this is true. Uh, yeah.
So hop into Leo next.
Happened to Leo.
Yes.
I was telling you before this that I, for some reason, was up all night watching things I don't typically watch. One of them was Madonna's halftime show from 2012, I believe. Um, One of the most amazing spectacles you will ever witness. If you have not seen Madonna's halftime show from the Super Bowl, go watch it. That explains Leo and how Leos perceive themselves and absolutely expect others to perceive them. That show will show you. And also the stamina and drive and like ability to manifest a mind-blowing scenario and like actually achieve it. So Leos rule the heart. Oh, I forgot to say Aries rules the head. Our signs all rule different parts of our bodies. Leo rules the heart. If you're a Leo or you have a Leo friend, you do know that just in in spite of, which I don't want to go start negative, but if they have bad traits, even if they have bad traits, you know that they have an incredible heart. They are so compassionate. Leos are the people that if you can get a hold of them, because you can't always get a hold of them, if you can get a hold of them, they will drop everything and come and be there for you and be there for you. You know that if a Leo is next to you in a time of crisis, that person cares so much about what you're going through, what happened to you, how you need to be protected, what you need. They'll remember things that, like, they're good gift givers because they remember things about you and they think about you in a big way, and they like to give gifts. Um, so one of the toxic traits of a Leo, and I just forgive it with every Leo I know because I like Leos. They are amazing. They're there. You're totally bonding. You have this great friendship. You're hanging out. You're doing stuff. Everything is exactly the way you expect it, and you know them to be. And then the next day, and for 3 days to a week, they are completely unreachable, and you have no idea. Like, did you fall off the face of the earth? Like, they burn out because they give so much. They're a fire sign, but they're coming from the heart. So it's almost like they're a water sign. So they're like, their love is so intense and they're wanting to achieve things and do things, and their drive is so intense and their feelings are so intense that does cause them to completely shut down and just need to, like, hide. And that's okay. I mean, it's almost like it's interesting. It's like they have this, they're like 75% extrovert and then 25% introvert. The bummer is a lot of times the introvert thing presents itself when you really need them. Like if you make plans with them, or something happens, and like, because they have been there and they're such good leaders, and they run a lot of shows and a lot of, like they would be like, let's say they're like a director of a Broadway musical, and they perceived everything, and they gave the approval on every costume, and they gave the approval on every light and every note played in a song. Like, they have approved everything because they're really good at doing, that, perceiving like things in this big production. And then the night of, like the I wouldn't say like the opening night, because they're going to be there for the adoration, but maybe the rehearsal the night before, all of a sudden they disappear for like 3 hours right when it's supposed to start. And so hopefully it starts and everybody just they're doing their thing, and then they'll just come back and say, I got stuck doing something else, whatever. But I think sometimes it's a fear of failure, or no, it's a fear of succeeding. What's the right way to say that? When self-sabotage.
Oh yeah, self-sabotage, yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's self-sabotage because they have such strong feelings about something that sometimes it can work against them, and it can be overwhelming. Or maybe leading for a month leading up to this Broadway play, they've only had 3 hours of sleep every night because they're so driven, or they've been so into it, that when you really need them, because that's their role, like everyone needs their approval, they don't show up for like the first 3 hours, and you don't know what to do with it when you see them, because like, they have a lot of pride, so you can't really ask, like, are you okay? So they have that trait, and it's weird. But if you know that, and you're okay with it, and you know to expect it, then you just, like, I'm pretty flexible when it comes to things like that. I've learned to just not make hard plans and enjoy them when they're in their best version. So when I see them, I'm going to have a great conversation. We're going to have a good time. They need to work. They typically I mean, they show up. But like, I learned that I love Leos so much that I'm willing to allow them to dip, and I don't have any expectations anymore for them, and I just embrace what I get when it's there. because it's so wonderful. And,
No, that
yeah.
makes sense. Everybody's got their quirks, right? And if you know, that's why these chats are important too. Like if you know that going into partnerships, friendships, business partners, romantic partners, if you know these
Mhm.
things, then it doesn't hurt you personally. It's like, oh, this is
Yes.
the way this person functions on like a
Yeah.
fundamental basis, and it's very
Yeah.
difficult for them to shift out of that.
Yes. Yes. Well, and it's part of them taking care of themselves, but they have too much pride to tell people that. So if they get to a balanced level in their life where they can say, like maybe in a relationship, hey, we've been dating for a while, this is going really great. I have only shown you my best version of myself because who wouldn't? But there's a few things I need you to know. There are times when I just need to be alone. I
Hmm.
just need to not show up when I said I'm going to. And it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with me. And so I just need a few forgiveness cards in advance. And the reason I'm going hard on this is because every Leo I've known is like this. Like I'm not making this up, and I'm not just making a gross assumption. Every Leo I know is like
I'm
this.
like that as an Aquarius, so I get it.
Yes. But we're also really good at telling people like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that thing you just invited to me in a month sounds incredible, but I'm not going to give you a commitment. I'm going to tell you that I like it. I hope I want to go, but the day of I might not. And it has nothing to do with you, and so we're fine telling people things like that. Leos they want to be there for you. They want to show up. They want to be wanted. They want the adoration. Be they want to be the brightest light in the room. And yes, it does come from ego, but it also comes from they have a lot to offer, and so they have this physical attraction that is very, very powerful and strong. They have magnetism that just draws people in. And um I would imagine like every Leo has probably had a lot of people crush on them.
Hmm.
They love that shit. Good for them. That it's fine. Um they are they're exciting, they're good conversationalists, they're fun, they're really fun to be around. Um they all have kind of I haven't met one yet that doesn't have a pretty developed sexual side. Like their sexual appetite is strong and they like to bring sex up in a conversation when it wasn't there before, where you're like, okay, yeah, that okay, I mean, that's fine. That's totally fine. I'd rather somebody just this is who I am, Um, but I also don't like to be emotionally or physically manipulated, and so sometimes I'd be like, do that to somebody else. Like I don't get off my leg. Like
Get
I
off
don't.
my leg.
Yeah, I don't. If you want to impress me, like you have to seduce me up here. I don't need all that. I mean, this is nice, but I don't need all of it. Um, but that works for the majority of people. So go ahead. Like uh, sed they're really seductive. They're very um hedonistic. Um, and typically they're also really good at a lot of things, like they can run. I wouldn't say I always find them as a boss because they can take that role, but I think they want more freedom. I don't think they want to be tied down to the 8 hours a day, having to show up on time, having to be consistent. I think they know themselves well enough that like that's not yes, that pays the bills, but I need my freedom to roam like a lion.
Hmm.
I need my freedom. Like I already have a fan club here, so I'll be back. I see people over there that don't know me yet. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna get another fan club. And, if I'm lucky, the two fan clubs will join, and now I have a really big fan club. I dated somebody like this. He was awesome. Um,
Not him collecting his like lioness tribe.
yeah. Well, my first love was a Leo, and that's not even who I was thinking of, but he had a fan club. He was a dancer and he had all the girls fanning over him. He was a good dancer and very loving and kind. I mean, there was plenty of reasons why he had a fan club. It made it really hard for me. There were a lot of there was way more reasons behind that. Um, and then this other guy that I'm thinking of now, he definitely all yeah, all of a sudden there were a bunch of us. It would be like we would like make plans to all go do something and then we'd all get together and it would be 6 or 8 women and him.
Mm.
Hmm, who planned that? You know, like and but we it doesn't matter. He picked it well. We all got along. We didn't give a shit. Um, but yeah, Leos are like that. Um, yeah, they're magnetic and loving. Like they're real. And so you forgive them when things don't go as you expect. Um, they have a temper, but I would say it would be the most ferocious if they were protecting somebody else, like their family or a loved one. Like they'll get in a bar fight if they know they can win, but they have a lot of pride, so they're not going to do something stupid to make a fool of themselves. But they will call people out. They are cocky, but most likely they'll be even more cocky if they know the person standing next to them could kick your ass because they don't want to get a mark on this face or
Mm.
mess up their manicure or get a hair out of place. But that guy is part of my fan club and he'll kick your ass. Yeah, it's funny. Um, Trying to think of male to female. Uh, a lot of Leo women can be masculine. They kind of encompass the male and female and get not all of them, but a lot of them can kind of go towards um oh, I just had the word. The hell? Androgyny.
Hmm.
Like there are a lot of hot dykes that are Leos, like smoking hot. Yeah, they are the epitome of androgyny. Sorry if Dyke's canceled. Sorry. The masculine, like y'all know what I mean by that. Um, Not a lipstick lesbian. I don't know if that's been canceled. I don't know. It's been a while. I haven't been in the culture for a while. But there are a lot of smoking hot masculine lesbians that are Leos. They're like they just get the masculine and feminine. They just they do it right. They do it right, and they are attractive to everyone that sees. It doesn't matter,
Well, that's
men
probably
and
what makes
female.
them very magnetic too to like everyone because you can like switch in and out of those energies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them just have more of like a masculine energy to them, even if they are a straight female like mom, that very family oriented, whatever. They'll tend to have so a lot of them will have shorter hair or they just have like yeah, just more of a masculine energy. Um, and then the Leo men are popular. I would say I wouldn't say that they're certainly not all cheaters. I'm not saying this at all, but they definitely constantly need attention and new attention, so they're very flirty. So if you find yourself with a Leo male, just know that they are going to be seeking the attention of others, and it doesn't mean that you're not giving them enough, or it might mean that, but like how much are you supposed to give your partner beyond what deep, kindness? Um, but yeah, Leos will just turn on the charm and the seductive what person just for an hour interaction, just to kind of feed that I matter, I'm wanted, I'm needed, I'm attractive. They need that constant like um energy reinforced
Hmm.
if they're in the public. Yeah. Yeah, they do feed off the the adoration of others really well. They're a sign that seeks that. But they're affectionate and they're loving and they will make you feel like you're the only person in the room and and listen to you and have great conversations and and care about you and remember what matters to you, and they are a great playmate. That's our opposite sign. So when I first started studying astrology, I always thought, oh, I'm supposed to be with a Leo. Ironically, my first boyfriend was a Leo. Um, it is a very good match, but there are a lot of hard no's in there too. Like the moment we're like, oh, you need something from me, Aquarians are like, nope, I'll give it to you because I know you need it. But the moment you turn on me and you're like, you need, I need this, that's emotionally and physically manipulating us, and we're not going to give. So that doesn't work. Leos really care about how they're perceived. They do. Okay, this is really important, y'all. Never publicly embarrass a Leo. Never, Aries, are you listening? Never go to hard and try to call out something that a Leo said, did, or whatever in public, because you will create an enemy for life who will really find ways to make you know how upset they are with you. Like that, their pride is the size of the room that they walk into. And if you embarrass them, it can have really bad negative consequences. And Aquarians are very unpredictable. So Leos will turn to a person who is not behaving up to their standards and like shoot them a look that makes that other person feel stupid or like they're being too much or they're too loud. I mean, maybe they are, but Leos will shut that down. And part of the relationship with a Leo is they want your adoration, and that makes you want but they also make you want their approval. And so they will punish you by removing their approval. And then that causes a ton of problems in a relationship if you're not aware of that. So,
Well, that's good facts to know. Like, into just like with any of the signs, like there's gonna be
yeah.
things that, are just things to not watch out for necessarily, but just be aware of so that you can better navigate relationships.
Yeah. Um, a fun thing with Leos, if they are pursuing you, you're going to feel like royalty. Like they're going to send you the sweetest notes. They're going to surprise you with things. They're going to give you gifts. They're going to create like, hey, let's go for a ride. And all of a sudden you like come upon this incredible picnic that has already been planned, and like you'll feel like the most important person that ever existed if a Leo if they're pursuing you. And if you're pursuing a Leo, you can flood them with all the things that you think you're supposed to do to woo someone, and they love it. And they're very grateful and thankful, and it just makes them even more um when you give someone a gift, you want them to be happy, right? And a Leo will show you how happy, like you just keep feeding their ego and they become even happier and happy. It's not what I'm describing sounds a little toxic, but like initially in the beginning, you will know if a Leo is liking what you're doing, which is helpful.
Hmm.
Just make sure. It's really easy to go into a relationship with a Leo where you're already giving 60 or 75%, which only makes them show up for 25 or 40%. And then if you keep giving your power away, they're going to let you because they're seeing it as an adoration. And so you're going to end up creating an imbalanced relationship because they don't need to do anything on their end.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just be careful with that.
Yeah.
But they're fun. They're real fun. Yeah.
And now for the prominent people in your life,
Yeah.
Sages,
Sagittarius. Yeah.
the Aquarius matches.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. If you are a Sagittarius or an Aquarius, go find yourself one of the other ones. We are the best match, the best match. We might younger, you're going to end up having a ton of fun and probably not take care of all your responsibilities, but you learn. If you can meet your match 40 years old and after, and you're pairing up a Sagittarius and Aquarius, it's going to be the relationship for life. So I have been in a relationship with a Sag for 15 years. It is the only one that's ever worked completely in my life. And it's because Sagittarius is the most independent sign. They're the sign of the philosopher, the higher mind. They tend to be teachers. Well, they tend to study, like they're the eternal student, which often leads to teaching, and it would be on more of like a higher academic level, philosophy, or sometimes religions. Like sometimes they really get into religion, but like the intellect of religion. And it's because it's like ancient archaeology, which is my big thing. You'll never get all the answers, unless you go into a session and channel it. You'll
Yeah.
never get all the answers. And so it's like this amazing, fulfilling, complex, mysterious. Like if something like that exists, the Sagittarius is going to keep digging. Um, Temper tantrum city, but it's over so quick that you don't even you learn to not care. And the quickest way to deflate it is just to look at them and be like, um, is this all necessary? Like, you know, I mean, really, is it that okay? And they really get over themselves fast. But they boy did they they just it's like they explode and you're like, well, what just happened? And then they get loud, they get really loud, and then it's over. So as long as you know that, it's okay. Um,
They're not creating documentations like the
no,
Aries.
they could care less. Oh my God, they could care less. They're a mutable sign. They want to get along with everybody. They want to have a good time. They want to have a good time. They want to have a good time. They are hedonistic. They are fun loving. They're physical. They're good. They're excellent partners to go for a hike. Um, if you can get one to agree to an actual, like, hey, do you want to hang out? Okay, I'm holding you to this. You know what? I'll pick you up at your house. So if you can get them to agree to it, which it's fine. I mean, we all they're not un they're not unreliable. They're just they're so interested in so many different things that they could make plans with someone and forget an hour later and just go off and do something else. And so you just have it's like a Gemini, you just have to kind of like, okay, in my own life, this is a perfect example. I do have 5 planets in Sag. We have 9 planets in our chart. 5 of mine are Sagittarius, including my rising sign. I make notifications and appointments in my calendar. I make them, you and I had this conversation yesterday. I make them the moment they come into my mind or the moment I make the commitment because I have to put it in there. And then um I usually put it at like 8 a.m. that day, even if it's not until 4 p.m. And then that morning I see it and then I move it 2 hours later. So that in 2 hours, I get a reminder that that thing's happening at 4 o'clock. So in these last 2 hours, if you have changed your plans, just modify them back into finishing them by 4 p.m. And then I will still give myself another reminder at 3 just to make sure that I am already getting ready or whatever it is. I'm not absent-minded. Well, I am. I'm not forgetful and I am very dependable, but I want to be in the flow state. I want to be in the mutable state. I want to be in the creative zone. I want to be unencumbered and independent and free. And the only way to live like that and still meet your responsibilities is confirmations, reminders, and a calendar with a lot of notifications that go off. Um, you could, everything that applies to the term ADD applies to Sagittarius. Uh,
I guess yeah.
Dude, they are so,
ADD embodied as
yeah,
a person.
they are so fun. Oh my God, they're so fun. Everyone needs a Sagittarius in their life. They are that pixie that just like bounces out of the forest with like all this energy coming off of them. Their eyes are typically tilted a little up. They're like they always look like they're up to something. Like they have a twinkle in their eye. They rule the thighs and hips. They tend to have really muscular legs, and they have endurance. So if you want a walking partner, you want a gym partner, you want a, you know, whatever, if it's physical and it's getting out and it's exploring and it's learning, find a Sagittarius. You want to go on a road trip where you're going to stop at all the weird things that you see along the road, and and anything that says adventure, it's Sagittarius. They're almost always really good dancers. I've never met one that doesn't have rhythm. My son's a Sagittarius, and my whole pregnancy, I kept saying I want a dark-haired, blue-eyed dancer, and that's exactly what I got. None of us have blue eyes. I still got that too. But manifestation's real, y'all. Um, they they like to argue. They're smart. They like to argue, especially the men. Um, but they have a good argument. Doesn't mean that they need to argue with everybody. Like fire signs, okay, air signs and okay, Aquarians, Tauruses, and um Aquarians, Tauruses, and fire signs in general are always right. Sagittarians are so philosophic that they actually are right. But you don't have to agree. Just because someone's offensive doesn't mean they're wrong. And they can coin that phrase too, because they have the hoof and mouth disease, and they say the most inappropriate, honest and true, inappropriate things sometimes, and they can't get it back up. Like once it's said, but they're usually so funny that you forgive them. But boy, do they say some inappropriate, not like sexually inappropriate, but just like if there's a room full of people and everyone knows that like there's tension in the room because everybody knows that something's wrong, a Sagittarius will walk in and just spill it.
Got it.
Oh, hey, boy, there's a lot. Is the tension in here because of those two people cheating on each other and their wife works here too? And then they just walk out of the room, and then everybody else is like, "Oh my God, that's a Sagittarius." I'm pretty good with that trait. I actually really enjoy that. I used to do it way more than I don't do it now because I don't want drama. I don't want attention. But I was really good at that. Yeah, I was really good at pointing out the obvious when no one else wanted to talk about it. Sagittarians are honest AF. So
I
it's
feel like I
really
would be that way if I wasn't an Aquarius because I'm like so observant of people's like behaviors and like, hey, this, but I don't want it. I don't want to be the story.
mm-hmm.
I don't want the attention.
And I have both. And so
Right.
I was really mouthy when I was younger because Sagittarians are loud too. So I was really mouthy. I would I like to clear the air. I'm sorry, I don't want to work 8 hours in a room. Well, I don't do that anymore, but I don't want to go to work and there be tension. And like, how are you all just accepting this? Like, just
Hmm.
because Moody over here, like, why are we? I would be like, hey, Moody, you're making tension in the room. I don't care. And I used to say this all the time. I don't care if you're mad at me. No love lost. I don't care. I just stop doing this to everyone here. It's not fair. But and it was usually a Cancer, which would hate me for life because I would do something like that. But like I'd rather just have it all out in the open, but not everybody's comfortable with that. And who am I to walk in and be like, hey, the term for today is honesty,
It's airing
like,
out everybody's business.
yeah, sorry. And then leave when things start to get dramatic. I don't know what your problem is. Walk out after I just like caused an explosion. Um, yeah, no, Sagittarians are fun, really fun, and they're usually so childlike and kind of mischief makers that you're already prepared. You already know. You don't invite them to a funeral. You don't invite them to an intense, trial unless they have to show up, but you'll invite them to a party and you'll invite them to a housewarming and, you know, to meet your friends. They're very likable, but and they're extremely independent. And so if you find a Sag and you really want to be with them or pursue a relationship or friendship, whatever, you need to give them so much room to be themselves. Yes, they want to be your friend. Yes, they care about you. Yes, they want to have really, really long conversations. But they're another sign that, like Aquarians, when you meet them, you may have this profound conversation about a topic that a lot of other people won't talk about. And you're like, oh my God, finally, somebody else who wants to talk about ancient archaeology like me, whatever it is. And you'll have this really great conversation. And then it's over, and they're going to go back to their own hugging a tree or being out in the wilderness, or like my partner lives on our farm an hour away from no social interaction on a daily basis. And every time I see him says, please don't ever think that this bothers me. I've never been happier. Like that is a Sagittarius. So just know that there's that component, so they don't have, they're very friendly, and it would seem like they have a lot of friends, but like other Aquarians, they
People
have
attach
probably,
to them, but they don't attach
yeah,
to people. I'm
yeah,
I'm
they're,
I'm constantly like, I don't feel that way about you.
yeah. Hmm. I love you and I see you and I remember
Yes.
and I perceive and I get it. But yeah, I don't have some water signs and a lot of earth signs need that constant reciprocal, and Leos, constant reciprocal attention. You, you're needed, you're important, you're wanted. I need you to show me that. I need you to constantly remind me of that in all kinds of ways. Aquarians and Sagittarians hardly need any of it. We're human. We need to know that you want us around. We need to know that we are not too weird or too much for you. We need to know that you're not judging us. And that's kind of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I should retract what I said. It's not that I don't care and love people. It's
yeah, no.
I don't need as much of that
Mm-mm.
reciprocal energy. I'm like, we're Gucci,
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, we don't need
That's
to
all I
check in.
need. I don't need
Yeah.
anything else. Yeah.
Well, we don't need we just yeah, the briefest check-in is fine because we're good communicators. So are Sagittarians. So like if something's wrong, they'll tell you.
Hmm.
They'll tell you. They're honest. They'll tell you. If they need something, I mean, and now of course the way you grew up, the way your family handled sharing information, the trauma you've been through, the it Sagittarians are loud and big and a huge presence, and their entire life, critical people have told them that. So they're not going to stop being that, but they're not going to they know that not everybody wants that, and they know that if they're alone they can be that, and they're their own best friends, so it's okay, like we don't care. So like unless they really perceive that that's one of your favorite things about them, then you're going to start to see them more. Then you're going to hang out more. If they can be themselves authentically in the room and they're not too loud for you and they're not too boisterous, or they're not too silent for hours, and you're okay with that, because you'll also get that. Sagittarians have the like completely withdrawn philosophical mind too.
Yeah, everyone up in the
Yeah.
philosophical mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they know that they can be themselves and they're major extremes in who they are, and you like that, then you have a friend for life. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm scouting me out some
They're
Sagittarius.
hard to grasp. Oh, they're so
That's
fun.
what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're so fun. Like Sagittarians is somebody that you can call at 1 o'clock in the morning and be like, "Were you sleeping?" And they're like, "Well, I mean, what's up?" And you're like, "Hey, do you want to go run out into the forest and see if we can find any frogs that glow in the dark?" And they're just like, "Yeah, actually, and that's the person that you call for that kind of like weird adventure with strange results." Yeah,
Very whimsical.
very, very whimsical. Very, 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 yeah, yeah, they're fun, boisterous, fun, funny, funny, funny. Ex Typically extremely quick-witted and will often like some of them are that tend to be a little, even though I'm saying they are boisterous and loud, but as a human they're kind of quiet in general. But when they do say something, it is so funny that you're like it's really impressive how just that one sentence in that hour is like the funniest thing you've ever heard. They have that.
Yeah, it's probably the intelligence coming in too,
Yeah.
like very witty humor.
Yeah. A lot of them still live at home into their 40s and 50s, which no shame in that, because but they'll have three master's degrees. Who needs responsibilities and practical stuff? Like, oh, are you still willing to pay the bills and do the banking and buy the groceries? Hell yeah, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be the smartest person in the room everywhere I go, and a lot of fun and a great conversationalist. But yeah, responsibilities is not their favorite thing. But they can teach themselves, and they can certainly figure out how to make their way through the world. And the best way to do that is to find someone else that's really good at it, better than you. And because there's very little ego with Sagittarius unless they get it hurt, they'll let you call the shots, and as long as they have their freedom, you go that actually I just described myself pretty well too there. Um, like in my business, my partner is an Aries, makes all business decisions. I've never wanted that responsibility at all. I trust her. I don't care. If you like all that shit, go ahead and do it. I'm going to show up. I'm loyal. I'm a friend. You're going to get an Aquarius version of everything you're asking for. And, thank you for accepting me, and I'm there. But I don't need recognition for owning anything. I don't need recognition for um, a job well done, like none of that. As long as my mind is engaged, and so Sagittarians will let someone else hold the reins of responsibility, but they will be a very re they're going to be a great partner. They do really think they're very observant. So they'll they'll run their life in a very productive way if they're allowed to run it, and it'll probably be it's like a oh, there's a term for it when kids are, yeah, parallel play. Parallel play. Go over there. My Sagittarius.
Speaking to
Okay.
your Sagittarius about
Yeah.
parallel
Yeah.
you there
Mm.
you can rely on them, but they are a type B personality. So if you're
Mm.
a type A, you're gonna be type A.
Yeah.
There's no role switching.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But they will take care of things. Absolutely take care of things. They don't want a ton of advice. They don't want your opinion. They they can come off as bossy because they just don't want a lot of input. And again, it has more to do with leaving them, let them be them. So even if they're wrong, okay, I'm I have this conversation often like, so what you're telling me is you know, You already know the answer. Like you know how this is going to go because you've decided that you know how this is going to go. So I'm just letting you know that, okay. And when it doesn't happen the way you know it's going to go, is this going to cost me money? If it's if so, then let's, like at our farm. For the most part though, my my boyfriend is really really good at what he does, and like left to his own devices, he's running a tight ship over there. And so I've whereas it should be a joint thing, I tend to just back off and let him. He has strange systems in place that aren't that strange when you get to understand them. And it's better to just let the systems run because they work well. And even if I have a better way of doing something, it's okay. I'll just do it in my own life over here. It's fine. We can do things your way because you're alone so much. You have a system. I get that. I don't need to come out. I don't need to show up 3 days a week and throw off the system because my brain works in a different way. I'll accept your system. The rest of my life, I'm not running that system. Over here, I get it, and so it's you kind of have to understand that there are certain things that Sag isn't going to budge on because they just have a different way of setting things up in a sense, I guess. Like, but that just is in the way that they run their life kind of thing. Don't upset their systems. You're fine. You're fine. Same
That would
with
irk
my
that would irk me as an Aquarius. I'm like, we could be doing this so much more efficiently.
dude. It's
Oh,
okay.
my Capricorn.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, and he's one of those, it's funny, it's laughable now, but we have talked about this before I'm sure when we were talking about Aquarians. When you get nothing, that doesn't mean that we're not understanding. That just means I'm whatever's happening, you're making this way bigger than it needs to be. I got it. But he will change his tone when he's describing something to me. He'll he'll I know he thinks I don't hear him or understand him all the time. And getting louder doesn't make a difference. He always does. He's a wonderful person. I have a wonderful partner, like wonderful partner. But there's a lot of you're you're just being loud. Go ahead. Go ahead. You already know. You've already decided that you know. Go ahead. I'm just not going to stay here and watch you make a mistake. That's okay. It's okay. It's like you just have to there's a forgiveness with fire signs, and that's okay. That's okay. We don't know everything. I could be wrong. Probably not, but I could be wrong, and so I don't know everything, and I am the first person to admit that. Oh God, I don't. I mean, if you've done this before, I'm going to take your word for it. But you're also impulsive. So there's that. So fire signs are very impulsive.
Well, about
Yeah.
the fire signs, I have a last question for you here. Okay, so s'mores, like you make s'mores. Okay, so out of the three signs, who is the graham cracker, who's the marshmallow, and who's the chocolate?
Sagittarius is the chocolate because it is dark and complex and very from the earth and has they are the sign of wanderlust. Chocolate has exotic ingredients that have to be pulled together to create its dark, mysterious, complex formula. Aries is the graham cracker because they are the foundation that brings the whole thing together. You can't have a s'more without the other. You can fuck around with the ingredients in the middle, but you have to have the graham cracker in order for it to be a s'more. They are the foundation. They are the thing that keeps it together. They are the thing that makes it a s'more. Um, and they're consistent. A graham cracker is always a graham cracker. There's very little um, alternative ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And then the marshmallow is the Leo because it the moment you give it any attention, it expands, it changes shape, it fills up the space that it's in,
It
and
sticks to you.
it's the star of the show.
Yeah. Well,
That's a funny.
I just came over the top of my head.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny. Yeah. See, those are good questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The
why I don't like.
Aquarius mind. And then you
Yeah.
went super philosophical with the answer with your Sagittarius energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's small talk, folks. Like if you all want to keep a Aquarius around, ask them weird stuff like that.
Ask me some
Like,
hypothetical
mhm.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That aren't too dark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Kimberly,
Uh,
where can everybody follow you on social medias?
Queen of Swords for Hire on Instagram and TikTok. And if you want to message me, oh, and in my profile on both, it'll link you to my stand store. You can email me there if you just have questions, like just in general about astrology or whatever. Um, and if you like energy work, and um, if you want to be on the receiving end of a very powerful activation and restructuring and getting out of your own way, I do that physically with over Zoom with my hands. And astrology, my knowledge of astrology is helpful when it comes to relationships. So if that's not my, I'm really good at helping with relationships. It's not my specialty. It's not what I advertise. But if you are trying to understand your partner better, or your boss, or um, a team that you work with, anything, like I can totally help
Or
you
kids?
understand, or your kids. I can very much help you in like extreme detailed, minute ways of how to what's not going to change, how you could work around, what you could do better, what your better versions of your own sign, the harder versions of your own sign. If astrology were to come into play, I could help you with that. I can tell you where to do your chart, like I'm not going to do your chart. But if you have your chart ready, I understand it extremely well, and I can also help you understand yourself better. And then anything beyond that, you need to hit up Shauna Ava with Heart on Radio on Instagram. Well, I'll connect you to her. She's an incredible astrologer when it comes to charts and conjunctions and things like that in the sky. Yeah. So if you, oh, and okay, yes, I started a new subscription. It's always going to remain affordable. I have two versions of the subscription. If you want to be part of our monthly group activation where we all get together, I do a 30 or 40-minute energy session that everyone feels, where we go through our energy centers and our chakras, and we do a clearing. Way more than that. We take a whole journey. It's very fun, very powerful. And then afterwards, everyone is invited to stay and interact and network, and make friends. And everyone that's part of this group is extremely awake and in the woo, and looking for others who are like them. I wish there's a lot of us out there. We just don't always know how to find each other. And so this is a group where you can find each other. If you would like to have a chat once a month, in addition to being part of that group, there's an $88 subscription where we get together and just talk about anything you want to talk about. Anything. Your ascension journey, your personal life, astrology, out of body experiences, astral travel. If you have questions about anything in the woo world, I have gone down rabbit holes and created new ones. And so I can talk I can talk about anything. I mean anything. I have studied and talked to other people and been on Zooms and been on groups and asked people questions. Like I have a little bit of information on anything, and if it's a topic that I don't feel like I've fully explored and you want to talk about it, you can tell me in advance and I will get more information by the time we meet. That's what we'll do in that hour and a half. And then you're also welcome, you're also wanted in the group activation. So those are my two subscriptions. If you just want a completely private, personal conversation and personal activation, I do that for 111. And those are my three options.
I highly recommend booking a session with Kimberly. She's an incredible psychic. Very
Oh yeah,
wise,
I'm
very
really psychic.
knowledgeable. Yeah,
I'm
very
very
psychic. We
psychic.
were just talking about that right before we got on. And when we say psychic, like there's that's a big umbrella, but she's very good at helping you figure out where you are stuck in life and how to move out of it
Hmm.
and how to connect with your magic,
Yes.
your
Yes, I can.
intuition, your gifts, your higher self, your spirit team, helping you open
Yeah, I
those channels of
activate.
communication.
Like if you say I feel like well, I can help you identify what your clairs are in a sense, what your where your gifts are, and then I can also help you activate those, unlock those, reconnect to your dormant DNA and remember who you are, and then bring those gifts forth so that you can start working with them and using them, and they're very familiar and it's not scary. None of this is scary. It's fun. It it can be a little emotional at times, but the most beautiful thing about sessions when you're doing energy work is I may zero in on something and see where your trauma is coming from or where you're storing pain or fear, but because we're in this safe space and kind of not disassociated, but we're in a different look, we're in a separate space between the two of us. When I bring things up, you'll acknowledge them and realize that that might be the root of your trauma or fear. Like I'll see something from my childhood, but it doesn't hit and it doesn't hurt and it doesn't drop you to your knees the way that it does when you're just going through your regular life and something triggers you. And because of
You
that,
work around it.
yeah, yeah, and so because of that, we're able to deal with it directly when we see it together. Because you're giving me the information. I'm a conduit for your energy, and you're showing me something that you're just tired of carrying. And we address it, and we unlock it, and we dissipate it, and it's gone. And then you just go back to normal programming.
Yeah.
The normally scheduled show is back and you're not carrying that story that you or the lies you've been telling yourself because you've been protecting yourself for a really long time. So that's a unique, that should happen in every session. I don't, and we can do it one. We don't need to. I love getting to know people. I love having you come back. And when you're dealing with other people, meeting once a month will help. But when it's like a real big one and you just want to get rid of it and move on so that you can step into your highest version, we can do that in one session. Sage is really good at that too.
Thank you.
But you all know that by now because you're watching her channel. I learned from the best, Sage.
I mean, vice versa. I mean, this is like you've helped me more than anybody with
Yeah,
growth and transformation in my life. So I like to toot your horn and tell people what you are capable of doing for other
thank
people.
you. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I do recommend joining the monthly group as well. I've been to the last two of them and they were super fun. And especially if you're an energy healer or a practitioner, because Kimberly and I were having a conversation about this before we got on, of we don't always reach out for support to other people, but Kimberly is one of those people of I need somebody to support me as a practitioner, as a energy
Mhm.
healer. My inner children needed to hear a lot of things from an outside source, from someone we respect in order to move through some things we were stuck on. And I received that in that meeting. Highly recommend.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
put all the information down here in the description, and you can follow Kimberly and book with her at Queen of Swords for Hire.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if you don't want to spend years going down rabbit holes like I did, just take Sage's courses and you can get them in a structured and very fun and whimsical and very educational like ton of wisdom and knowledge drops in her courses come out knowing it all, and you didn't spend 2 years of your life trying to get that information. She's collected it for you in the most profound way.
No, thank you. We're
Yeah.
we're quantum collapsing time over here.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, think if you have stuck this long, good for you. Your attention span is fantastic. And I welcome your input. I don't argue, but you are totally welcome to tell me where I was wrong. That's okay. I will accept it. And if you have any more questions, and you know, we just want to be part, we want to, if you are attracted to this and you want to be part of this, you know how to reach out to us. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank y'all. We love you.